just everything. And mind you, another point I want to make is that Future was my favorite rapper at this time. Okay, keep that in your mind. Future was my favorite rapper, and this I'm not putting it on him, but you'll get to my point. So I was working and I was living out of town, and my plan was to have my son come there with me where I was living. But I didn't know in sales, the market is always changing. I thought that when I moved that I would just be there for a few years, right? So I got an apartment, I got a loft in Kansas City where I was living. One second, my mouth gets dry when I don't drink. When I don't drink my sweet tea, my mouth gets dry. I don't drink at all, by the way. But yeah, so I was living in Kansas City, and I got a loft there with a guy that I was dating, my manager actually at my job. I was doing so good, and he was doing so good, and we were both hustlers, and we attracted to each other because we were both hustlers. We was both trying to grind and get our money, and we was making so much money, thousands and thousands of dollars, like. And I was so happy to be able to come and give my family money, do things for my family, and definitely do things for my son. But I didn't realize that we were gonna have to be moving around. So the whole point in that is, I'm gonna wrap it up because that's a whole nother story. Is that my son was with my family? Okay, I wasn't with him. I would come back and visit him. So I started getting depressed on the inside, especially when things started changing at my job. When a relationship ended with me and that person because it turned into an abusive relationship. When I say abusive, I mean abusive. That's another story. We'll talk about that another time. That'll be a whole thing, girl. That'll be a whole different thing. But so the point I want to make is that that's when I started taking them to make myself numb. That's when I started taking them to make myself feel better. When I say taking them, I mean Percocet, opioids, hydrocodone. I don't know if I can say that in this video. I'm not monetized yet though, so hey, it was opioids, okay? That's when I started taking those. And I was taking them to numb my pain. I was taking them, so that I could get through the pain that I was going through and the letdown that I was going through, right? And I'll never forget, one day I thought, how would I be able to take these every single day? Mind you, I was going through also health problems as well, like not bad health problems, but like I said, I had, a hard cycle whenever my cycle used to come on. It changed up a little bit after I had my son, my firstborn son. But the point of what I'm saying is that sometimes I would get it from doctors and sometimes I would pay for it. And I had the money to do it because I was making lots of money and partying, so I would pay for it and I would get more and I would buy people around me opioids. And it became a thing where it was every day. We had moved down to Florida, my job did, and we were working out there, and I'll never forget, that's probably when it went over the edge for me. But at first it was just, I called it a habit, but then it did become a full-blown addiction when I was in Florida because they had like opioids that were like 30 milligrams and things like that. And I had the money to buy them every day, so I was taking them literally every day. And then it got to the point where I realized that I would get sick if I didn't have it. I realized I would get sick. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? What is happening? Because I would get so sick. And I would literally find myself riding around from place to place of people that I knew looking for Percocets. Now, when I say that, when you picture it in your mind, I wasn't riding around like, ugh, I gotta go get it. No, it wasn't like that. It was me riding around, with my friends or either by myself. And now I go stop at one friend's house where I usually get them from, and it might be a day where they don't have any, and then I'll go somewhere else, and then I'm calling and I'm waiting on the phone for somebody to come. Like, that's real life, and that's embarrassing for me to say, but I ain't there no more, so it don't hurt me. I'm here to help. And that's exactly what would happen. I tried to hide it from my family. I tried to hide it from everything. But you can't hide it. You may think that you're hiding it. You may think that people don't know. But people know. People can tell from your behavior and the way that you act when you're going downhill. Because people would say little slick stuff to me. And I never forget, I used to get so defensive and so mad because My friends around me, they would take them too, but they just didn't take them as much as I did. They just didn't spend money like I did. Most of the time, you know, if they would want one, they'll say, let me get one, because they knew that I had good money at the time. I had a good job. When you work in sales and you working on commission, you can make as much money as you want. It's the closest thing to being a hustler that's legal. You understand what I'm saying? Because we were selling, we were working for a corporate company, but our job, our pay depended on us, on how hard we worked. So I would take them, go to work, and make sell so many accounts. Have a great day. You know, I was the star at my job every time. I was the star. I worked at 3 different companies in my entire career with those type of sales, with alarm sales. And in every situation that I was in, any city that they moved me to, I was that girl. I was good at it, you know. And the addiction started coming in, and the addiction started to grow. And it was to the point where I can tell you it has affected certain relationships that I had that could have been great, that could have worked out and been perfect. But it affected that because I would choose the medication over the relationship with the person. I would get with like if I meet somebody like my ex, I'll never forget I was hiding it from him. You know, I was hiding it from him, and that's the hardest thing because and we could be chilling or doing something, or he might want to go out of town or something like that. And if I couldn't get enough medication the last while we was out of town, or if I couldn't get any medication at all, I wouldn't even want to go. And that's not cool. That's not cool, And I knew it wasn't cool when I was going through it. I knew it, but like I said, this was at a point where I started really getting physically sick without it. And it was so embarrassing, right? It was so embarrassing. And so I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk about it with anybody. But the people who were around me a lot, they saw it, right? Um, and like I said, I would get really defensive if somebody would even try to think they're going to try to call me an addict, da-da-da. And I would listen to Future music, and I felt he was my favorite rapper regardless, without, that whole situation. But I felt him on another level listening to his music because I was going through similar things. And then when that song, uh, Purple Rain, Perkins Calling, all of that, like, my grandma had passed away around the time that album had came out. My grandma on the paternal side of my family, right? Um, she had passed away, and I remember feeling lost. I have always been connected to God since I was a child because of a lot of the abuse and things that I went through as a child. The only thing I could do was seek God. And I will never forget that time in my life when I was taking pain medication so much, and my grandma had passed away, and I felt like I was literally a zombie, like walking around dead. Like, I literally didn't hear God anymore. God talks to me all day, every day, at all times, but I had gotten in so deep to where I could not even hear God talking to me. You know, I couldn't hear God talking to me, and I was like, I was just, in my eyes, I was down bad. Now, mind you, I was still working. Mind you, I was still able to do, what I wanted to do for myself and my son. I would still come home and visit every month, twice a month, 3 times a month. But the depression was taking over, and I would get into it with friends, get into it with family, and, do things that I really normally would never do in my own. Like, if I didn't have that issue, I would have never done some of those things. It's what I mean when I say some of those things is, I mean, being careless and, about how I treat other people, as far as saying, oh, I'm going to come do this, or I'm going to come do that, telling them that I'm going to be there for this or that, and then I'm not there because I feel sick, and I don't want to tell nobody that I'm sick because I can't find no medicine. You know what I mean? Friends that would, well, they weren't friends. People that would sell it to me started treating me different because they knew that I needed it, so they could go up on the price. All type of weird stuff that was happening, right? And I got so upset when I realized that I could not work without it. When I lost my job, and I had to come back home, and I saw that I wasn't able to do